What is up YouTube? Today I'm bringing you an in-depth beginner's guide to Haze. If you love high risk, high reward playstyles, Haze is perfect for you. She may be squishy, but her burst potential is insane. She's able to melt enemies in seconds and farm camps extremely quickly. Her early laning phases can be a little tricky, especially against aggressive opponents, but don't worry, I've got some tips to help you survive and thrive. After we break down her abilities and my favorite build for her, you'll be equipped to carry your team. So hit that like button and let's get started. First, let me give you a quick overview of what Haze's abilities do. Her 1 is a dagger that sleeps people when you hit it. Her 2 makes her invisible. Her 3 makes her do more damage the more you shoot the same person. And her ultimate, her 4, is an AoE which she keeps shooting in and it deals an insane amount of damage. And now in the game, let's look at her abilities a little bit more in depth. First, we take a look at her sleep dagger. It reads, throw a dagger that damages and sleeps a target. Sleeping targets wake up shortly after being damaged. Throwing a dagger does not break your invisibility, that is very nice, as sleep dagger does not interrupt enemies' channeling abilities. It deals 70 damage as soon as you unlock it. The sleep duration is 3 seconds. There is a 0.2 second minimum sleep time, which is really important because then, as soon as you hit them, you have that whole period to shoot them. As you saw, I hit him about 6 times and he didn't wake up. But if you wait any longer than that, they will definitely wake up if you shoot them. So now I waited the 0.2 and now I shot them and then they wake up. So that's good to remember that. Once you level up your sleep dagger at level 1, it will start removing 1 stamina whenever you hit someone with it. I can't really show you here, but it does. It removes 1 whole stamina when you hit somebody with it. Then the next level, you get minus 12 second cooldown, which is very nice, very good to have. And for the last level up here, you get negative 12% bullet resist for 6 seconds after they wake up. So it's going to be really useful at the end game. But you do not want to focus on leveling this up past like level 1 or 2 first. Now, one of the most important tips that I can give you about the sleep dagger is that because it does not interrupt enemies' channeling abilities, enemies like Bebop, when they're using their ultimate, they do not stop using that ultimate. They just won't be able to move the camera, but Bebop will continue using that laser, so you need to remember that. Another tip is that using your second ability with it, as you read, it doesn't break the invisibility. So let's say that you miss, you don't have to actually get out of the invisibility. Just remember that you will still be invisible if you use this dagger. And speaking of invisibility, let's look at her second ability here. It is called Smoke Bomb. She fades out of sight, becoming invisible and gaining sprint speed. Attacking removes invisibility. Close enemies can see through your invisibility. That is very useful to remember. Once you unlock the ability, you'll notice that it has a 37-second cooldown, and the sprint speed boost that you get is only 2 meters per second here. So you can see 8 without it and 10 as soon as you're fully invisible. Your fade time never changes no matter how high you upgrade this. It's a 1.5 second fade time, and if an enemy is 18 meters away from you, they will be able to see you. So for example here, let's say that I use it, and now you see this big circle. That's the circle in which they can see me. I am fully invisible right now, and yet as soon as I get closer, you can see my body. It's a lot more visible now. So you do have to be careful with that. Now let's see, when you upgrade this ability, the first upgrade gives you a negative 14-second cooldown. This is very nice to have because you're going to be using this ability a lot to run away, for example, or to gank people. Then when you level it up again, you get plus 6 meters per second invisibility sprint speed. This is one of the most useful things that you can do with this ability because then you can start running the earned, for example. Then, if you want to level it up all the way, you actually gain bullet lifesteal, which is very good to have because as soon as your invisibility runs out, then you will have increased bullet lifesteal for 8 seconds. This is huge combined with your ultimate. Next, it is Haze's most important ability, Fixation. It says that shooting a target increases your bullet damage on that target. You gain 1 stack per bullet hit, 2 if the bullet is a headshot. The stacks will last 6 seconds on an enemy. Here we go. Got 2, and then if you count down the seconds here, you will see how they will last 6 seconds, and during that whole time you'll be increasing the amount of damage. Your weapon damage goes up by 0.2 per stack, and you can have up to 30 stacks. This is the first ability that you ever want to max out on Haze because it increases the amount of stacks, you get more damage, you just deal more damage in general. This is the ability that makes Haze do as much damage as she does. As you can see, I have 30 stacks on him right now, and I'm dealing 11 to 12 damage every shot. And now without the ability, you can see that each one of the shots deals 7, 8, 9. It increases the more stacks you have. Very useful ability. It's really what makes her as good as she is. Once you level it up with a soul, you get 60 spirit damage and 15% slow for 2 seconds to a target every 20 stacks. So as soon as you stack him up to 20, he is now slowed there, and he took that 60 damage as you saw. This makes it a lot harder for them to run away, and it lets you deal a little bit of extra damage. Then if you level it up with 2 souls after that, you get plus 40 max stacks and 5% second duration. So this now gives you 11 seconds for you to be able to stack it up as much as you possibly can. And then plus the 40 stacks, that means that you can get up to 70 stacks on somebody, which as you can see, it used to be 6, 7, or 8 damage more or less. Now every shot is dealing 19, 20. That was 20 damage every single shot there, which is a lot more than before, of course. So that's a really important level to get to. That's why you actually want to concentrate on fixation first. That is the first thing that you want to max out. Then on the last level, when you do max it out, you actually get 0.2 more damage per stack. This now makes her do an insane amount of damage. So let me just build up the stacks here all the way. So now that I've built the stacks up to 70, you can now see that I'm actually doing 34, 33 more or less damage, and I still don't have any items, right? So that pretty much double the amount of damage that you deal just by getting it up to the max level. So this is why you want to focus on fixation. You want to fixate on fixation. Lastly, your ultimate bullet dance enters a flurry, firing your weapon at nearby enemies with perfect accuracy. During the flurry, Haze gains a fire rate bonus and will evade some of the bullets shot at her. This has a 15-meter radius around her by default and has a very long cooldown. Of course, you do get that 15% fire rate, and you can only target 1 enemy per shot here. But you are dealing an increased plus 2 weapon damage, which is quite a lot, and you have a 25% evasion chance. So this is really nice to do whenever you have a couple enemies close to each other. Now this is what it looks like here, and you see that big red circle, that is the whole area which is affected. Now notice that that does build up stacks. So during the laning phase, once you hit that 3000 soul number, that's a huge power spike for you, because now you can be in the laning phase while you're building up stacks here and then ult someone, and now you'll see the insane amount of damage that you're dealing. Now once you level this up one time, you get a plus 7 weapon damage bonus, so now you're dealing a lot more in general. You can see these numbers are getting insane now. Then you level it up with 2 more souls, and you get a negative 38 second cooldown reduction. Very nice, now it is only 100 seconds. Once you max it out, you do get plus 1 target hit per shot. So that means that now instead of hitting this one person with every shot, you can now hit 2 people for every 1 shot. One of the best ways to use this thing is by going into a team fight and just straight up ulting them from the top. There is also, you can't really see it, but there is a bit of a circle around her. So if somebody's in the sky, it does actually hit them. They just can't be too high up there. You also want to note that you can hit towers with this ability, and you can use it on mid boss, which has huge potentials in the late game. So naturally, the way that you want to max out these abilities is by going to fixation all the way first, then bullet dance, then sleep dagger, and then smoke bomb. That's the best order to deal the most amount of damage. And now that you have a good look at her abilities and how to use them, let's look at my favorite build here. It is actually Chrome's Rapid Haze. I do believe this is the best one. I have not even changed anything about this build at all. It is just so good. First, ammo scavenger, so that you can last hit during the laning phase a lot easier because you get extra ammo, and you get ammo back every time you get a soul. Headshot booster, so that you can harass people in the lane. Rapid rounds, just for that extra damage. Extra stamina, because this is always necessary. You're gonna be doing a lot of combos like dagger, dash jump, all of that type of thing, which you will need extra stamina for it. Then to be able to regen health during the laning phase, you want to go for either extra regen or healing right. Extra regen if there's somebody that is constantly shooting at you, doing small little bits of damage, which is Haze's worst enemy. You want to get extra regen for that. But if somebody's throwing nukes at you, like Kelvin's bombs or Lady Guys' bombs, then at that point you want to get healing right. You should usually only need one or the other, but there are games that I have gone for both depending on how the laning phase is really going. Then before the laning phase is over, you want to go for active reload, bullet lifesteal, and quicksilver reload. Active reload is just very good because of the extra weapon damage, and it helps you reload a lot quicker so that you can get way more last hits, and stay in lane way longer because of the bullet lifesteal. Then of course bullet lifesteal for basically the same reasons. You are just able to stay in the lane a lot longer than you used to before it. When you do have bullet lifesteal, at this point you're strong enough to actually take on pretty much anyone, if you do it in a smart way of course. Lastly, quicksilver reload is going to give you a huge power spike, and it will allow you, combined with all these other items, to farm the jungle a lot quicker than you should be able to at the beginning of the game. Just like the tip says there, you want to be using the quicksilver reload on your one ability, on your dagger, and you want to run out of ammo entirely, then use the dagger, and then you have a full magazine there. Then during the mid game, you want to go swift striker for the extra damage and the fire rate and the extra ammo of course. Sprint boots are so that you can roam around the map a lot easier and quicker. Mixed with your smoke bomb, you're going to be extremely fast. Slowing hex X is very important at the beginning so that you can stop people like Lash from running away, or even Abrams to stop him from pinning you against the wall. Kinetic Dash is one that I don't use so much. I often skip it, but it is very good. This way you only need 1 stamina instead of 2 to do a dash jump. Bullet Resist Shredder does exactly as it says on the name. It just helps you deal more damage in the end. Escalating Resilience is extremely good for any of these types of games that you have, for example, a Wraith on the enemy team and you're both just shooting at each other with your left click. Then Lucky Shot is your magic item here. As soon as you have Lucky Shot, you get a crazy power spike. You'll even be able to solo mid all by your lonesome very quickly. That is because of the amount of bonus damage that it gives you, and because of that movement slow, you can actually just gank people a lot easier. And because it does work with your bullet dance, you'll be dealing an insane amount of damage if you can hit people with the bullet dance when you have Lucky Shot. The latest meta right now is to go spirit damage on pretty much everyone. So spirit armor and improved spirit armor are essential almost every single game. Then of course Unstoppable is an amazing item because you can combine that with your bullet dance. You actually want to use it right before you use the bullet dance so that people cannot stop you at all. Then you'll just be using it like this. Sadly, you cannot use your bullet dance first and then use your Unstoppable. So you have to make sure that you use Unstoppable before you use your bullet dance. Ricochet is very good late game for the extra ammo, the fire rate, the bonus health, but most importantly, it does apply all the debuffs and everything else, including the slow from fixation to multiple enemies all at once. So in combination with your bullet dance, you'll be dealing an insane amount of damage. In the late game, you also really want to make sure that you have improved reach and you use that on your ultimate, because then it becomes 20 meters that people have to run away for you not to be able to hit them. The duration also goes up to 7.52 seconds, which is insane. That's a crazy amount of time for you to be doing the bullet dance. And then these items, of course, are up to you. Colossus is very good if you need more resistance in general, if people are killing you too quick. More stamina is always useful. Enduring speed will let you move a lot quicker. Silencer is extremely good. I actually almost get this in every single game. That is because you can combine that once again with your bullet dance. So if you use silence first and then you hit the bullet dance, you will be silencing everyone in this big 20-meter circle, as you can see from that little icon on the top there. This item here wins games really easily because a lot of people just don't expect to be silenced like that. Spiritual Overflow will just make it so that your bullet dance lasts a lot longer. Very nice. And then Inhibitor, if you need to slow people down so that you can catch up to them in the late game, this is what you get. Now this build is very well made, and they even have little annotations of what to get rid of whenever you do need to get rid of an item. And the way that you do it is, if you're low on slots, you want to get rid of Headshot Booster first, then Rapid Rounds, then Ammo Scavenger, and then at the point that you need even more slots, you would probably get rid of Extra Regen or Healing Right, depending on which one you got. And now I want to go through all the stages in the map here. First, let's begin with the laning phase. Because you're really squishy, your focus should be solely on surviving and getting farm in a safe manner. Don't take any trades that you would take way too much damage on versus the enemy, and you always want to stay behind your creeps like this. The enemy creeps hurt a lot, as you can see here from this amount of damage that I'm taking. So you always want to stay behind your own creeps so that they don't do that. Just stay at a safe distance away from the enemy. Sometimes you might be able to punch to be able to confirm the kill really quickly, but just don't stick around for too long. Avoid committing to any fights that the enemy might start unless they're a punch or two away from dying. Now you also want to use Sleep Dagger for poking as much as you can. As you see, it deals a little bit of damage, and then you punch them and then you run away. But this is only if you're not getting pushed out. If you're getting pushed out, then it's a lot better to just use your Sleep Dagger defensively on the enemy, and then walking away, running away for as long as they're asleep. Sleep Dagger is also a really good punishing ability. There's an enemy here. You see how they're getting hit by this? Let's say that they were on your side. You hit them, and then they just continue taking the damage from these creeps here. So if they're past your creep wave, try to use a Sleep Dagger to slow them down, to make them take extra damage that they wouldn't take otherwise. Since we're in the laning phase, you also want to pick up things like Ammo Scavenger as your first item if you're doing okay. But you do want to get some regen items if you're not doing that well. You see how my regen is at 2.0 right here? Immediately, as soon as you get one regen item, that just bumps up a lot. You also want to stick around your healer minion if you're getting harassed a lot, because they actually heal you for 40 health every time that they trigger their ability. Just quite a bit in the early games. Now extra regen gives you 2.8 more health regen there, so it'll bump it up to 4.8. So every 8 seconds you'll get 40 health, which is really nice. So if you're not doing too hot, then get this as a first item, but if you're doing okay, then get Ammo Scavenger as a first item. Now after you get this, headshot booster, and rapid rounds here, for example, now you have a pretty big power spike. Now you're actually able to sustain some damage, and you're able to dish out some damage. Now people can't just push you the whole time. Once you have 4 items, so that's 2,000 souls, that's a really big power spike right there for you. The one thing to keep in mind in the laning phase is that no matter what you do, just try to survive. Even if it means farming under your own tower here, under your own guardian, because they're adding too much pressure, just do this. Just try to survive as much as you can. The laning phase for Haze is really the hardest part of the game. After the laning phase finishes, you can really get to work here in the mid game. She's really good at farming because of her fast fire rate and a high bullet count, so you really want to put that to use. You're going to be farming camps a lot, so in between all these camps that you're farming, for example, here in the mid game, you always want to be looking out for a pick. You should be looking for kills like this using your sleep dagger, coming in, and then ulting or something. You really want to be doing stuff like that so that you can pick out single people and you can get quite the large boost on souls. And then whenever a team fight happens, don't just go head in, don't go in first, because you're still very squishy, and if people stun you, you're pretty much dead. Therefore, you want to stick behind your own teammates during team fights for a while, just deal damage from behind, and then wait for a really good moment to just jump in and ultimate. You also never want to stop moving, because if they hit you with a stun, you're pretty much dead. And then as far as items, you really also want to have all this. You want to have Quicksilver reload, you want to already have bullet lifesteal, active reload, you want to have all these things, including Swift Striker. This is the first item in the mid game that you want to get. After you get these items, you're now an actual really formidable opponent. You will be dealing a lot of damage, especially when you jump in from the back using your ultimate. They'll never expect it. And now the late game for Haze is a little interesting because she's still really squishy, but she can do so much damage. She's just a straight up glass cannon at this point, and she has a lot of lifesteal. So you can really burst down enemies extremely quickly, but if you get stunned or something, you're still probably dead. So if you see yourself dying a lot to crowd control, then you really want to pick up Unstoppable quickly. You want to get rid of an item like, let's say, extra regen or headshot booster or something. That way, as soon as you were coming into the fight, you're jumping in, you're using Unstoppable first, and then your ultimate. Nobody can stop you now, and then you'll just be able to kill everybody without having to really deal with those stuns that would usually kill you in the past. Focus on really getting picks in the late game again, so if you see somebody alone pushing out one of the far lanes or something, then you want to use your smoke bomb, find a guy that is pushing by himself, use your dagger, jump in, and just finish them off with your ultimate or something. You just want to be trying to get picks in the late game. The game is a 6v6, right? So if you're able to pick one guy off, at that point it becomes a 6v5, and it makes the game a lot easier in general, so just be looking for those picks. Now during the team fights, you really want to focus on the enemy damage dealers because they are going to be as squishy as you are most of the time, so you'll be able to finish them off really quickly, and they won't be able to deal their damage that they would usually deal during a team fight if you finish them off quickly. Just like in the mid game, she's high risk, high reward, so don't be the first one in a fight. Deal the damage and make sure that the enemy has to go through your teammate before they reach you. If you're about to die or something, run away with smoke bomb. Remember that there's a big radius that they can see you in, so you actually want to run pretty far. Make sure that you're able to dash jump like this, and if you need to, use your dagger defensively and run away. That way they stay asleep for 3 seconds there, and you have way more time to run away using your smoke bomb. Lastly, in team fights, make sure that you time your ultimate correctly. You want to make sure that you use your Unstoppable before you use your ultimate, because you can't use Unstoppable during your ultimate. And of course, your ultimate, because it deals a lot of damage to a lot of people, you want to make sure to use it when you deal the most amount of damage, but you still don't want to be stingy with it. Even if it's one single person, it's better to use your ultimate on that one person than not using it at all. And now you're ready to play Haze. I really hope this beginner guide for Haze was useful for you. Let me know in the comments down below what improvements you would like to see in this series, if there's any, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I will see you on the next one. Owl out.